Let's take a tour of a truly amazing place. It is a semi-tropical paradise located on the upper crescent of the Gulf of Mexico and home to a diverse range of ecological regions. Coming in from the Gulf, itself a storehouse of marine flora and fauna, dunes of wind-blown sand have formed barrier islands. Islands that harbor plants, animals, and birds that prosper on this sand spit no more than 2 miles across. Each spring, the islands play host to many thousands of migratory birds who use the scarce local trees for their resting stop after a tiring Gulf crossing on their return to their northern homes. From crashing waves on the Gulf beaches to the tranquil marshes of the bayside shores of these islands, you see a transformation to a more gentle pace. Quiet splashes indicate lunch both below and above the surface as a cadre of wildlife waltzes to the subtle music of this complex food chain. Large expanses of marsh grasses provide not only habitat for the local residents, but the nursery to many species who mature in this safer environment, then migrate into the Gulf for their adult life. In the more open waters of the protected bay, freshwater inflow from the adjacent creeks and bayous combine with saline waters from the Gulf to provide the perfect habitat for marine and bird life. Oyster Reefs hum with the inaudible movement of their tiny gills at work, filtering the brackish bay water. Gulls and pelicans form feeding processions and work their way across the open water. Roseate spoonbills wait atop the exposed oyster reefs, finding easy prey amongst the oyster colonies. Blue herons slowly stalk the closer shoreline, fishing for crabs, and the cry of a circling osprey completes the local chorus. Further out, dolphins frolic, and large flights of ducks, geese, cormorants, and other migratory species arrive to overwinter in these mild waters, creating an even more elaborate ballet on the larger canvas of the main bay. As the recipient of the freshwater inflow from bayous and rivers, this largest bay covers 600 square miles and collects the runoff of over 24,000 square miles of upland farms, prairies, and forests. It is one of the most productive estuaries on the planet, supporting a vast complex of wildlife and plant species and providing a sustaining cornucopia of nourishment for those who live in, above, and around its productive waters. The bay's mainland shores are formed by marshes, high banks, prairies, and river mouths, each bringing to this setting their own varieties of plant and animal species. Freshwater marsh grasses, prairie grasses, and shoreline saltgrass marshes do the job of slowing and filtering the runoff that feeds the bay and offer habitat to the rich colony of wildlife that populates the intersection of the brackish bay and the interior woodlands and prairies. The prairie grass shorelines, prominent along much of the bay edges, are the bitter end of prairies that run the length of the upper Texas coast, but make only scattered appearances on a saltwater shoreline. Their golden winter coat is punctuated periodically by small groves of trees indicating the mouth of one of the creeks and bayous flowing into the bay. East Texas loblolly pines populate some of the bayou channels into the bay, the southernmost reaches of this ubiquitous species. Moving into the broad opening of one of these bayous off the bay, the mood changes. Shadows lengthen, bird calls change in pattern and tune. The breeze softens, and large ball cypress trees fill in the low marsh areas between the pines. Following the slow-moving current upstream, you are aware of a vast coastal system. Prairies, marshes, and shoreline trees, all working to slow, filter, and absorb the runoff from the upland areas. Food stocks change. Nuts, berries, insects, small rodents, crabs, crayfish, snakes, turtles, and others fill the menu, a menu that attracts a large population of birds and mammals to this ribbon of nutrients penetrating the inland prairie. Egrets and black whistling ducks glide in to claim their space in the trees overhanging the waterway. Alligators sunbathe on the shoreline, lazily opening an eye on the lookout for any dining opportunity. Climb the bank, push through the tangle of yaupon, mulberries, cherry laurel, and elderberry, and you find yourself gazing across an open prairie of blue stem grass. One puzzles at the noticeable absence of any woody plants, a condition perpetrated and maintained by the periodic drought and fires that visit the prairie. What appears to be a barren grassland would soon surprise a visitor in a sudden rush of feathers and buzzing wings as a covey of bobwhite quail takes flight, or the surge of movement as both cotton-tailed and jackrabbits scurry deeper into the protective cover. Hawks of many types patrol the blue prairie sky as meadowlarks and savanna sparrows dart from grass tuft to grass tuft while maintaining a constant stream of chatter. Large flying grasshoppers, butterflies, and leaf crickets add to the pattern of sound and movements, reinforcing one's perception of a vibrant, diverse, and active ecosystem. Crossing from the prairie into the riparian forest, you see another complete change. Following this bayou channel, sand and clay soils mix in the floodplain areas and support towering pine, sycamore, cypress, and sweet gum trees. Multiple varieties of oak, maple, cedar elm, and green ash claim their space in this heavily wooded forest, as do the understory river birch, yaupon, sumac, swamp privet, and palmetto. Local aviary residents of blue jays, wrens, chickadees, cardinals, and mockingbirds provide the soundtrack with a stoic yellow-crowned night heron and a great horned owl perched high in the treetops, both feigning a passive interest in the busy birds below. Turtles take their sun on the logs and sandy beaches, with mottle ducks dropping in for some grass sprout appetizers. Nearby, a young coyote waits near a cluster of possum haw bushes in hopes one of the ducks will venture within striking range. Further up the river, a bobcat ventures to the river edge for water and, if lucky, a snack of crayfish. Then, breaking the quiet rhythm of the entire river channel, a gang of startled turkeys takes to wing and gobble and slides to the safety of the opposite riverbank. The riparian woods slowly diminish on each side of the river channel, with the last remnants of trees giving way to what is now a smallish channel snaking out into the prairie, commonly known as the Katy Prairie. You head north across the prairie toward the hazy outline of hills in the distance. Growing closer, there are no hills, but instead, the leading edge of the stately loblolly pines known as the Piney Woods. A group of white-tailed deer graze on the edge of the pine forest as you enter the woods. Your steps are muffled by the pine straw, and you easily surprise a busy group of squirrels. A fox darts across your path, and mouse trails lead off in every direction. The pine needle floor provides perfect habitat for understory red oak, redbud, dogwood, magnolias, azaleas, and beautyberry trees. Woodpeckers of several varieties beat out the background rhythm of the pine forest, and a startled skunk adds an interesting aromatic twist. Puddles of tannic-stained water form the amphitheater for a chorus of bullfrogs, while a pole-length bull snake quietly moves closer to the ensemble in hopes of reducing the size of the choir. While still early in the afternoon, the light under the pine canopy is fading. Small openings in the overhead cover offer a glimpse of flights of wood ducks whizzing their way through the pines to their evening roost. Hummingbirds spin from dogwood blooms to strawberry bushes, hoping to get a last cocktail before the blooms close for the evening. The forest begins to go quiet, and a distant loon sounds evening taps. You walk out of the pine shadows and into the late afternoon light of a small bayou channel, thinking back on how you have passed your day touring this amazing region. A region rich in diversity, abundant natural resources, and a treat to all the senses. By the way, this is Houston's wilderness.